What's going on, everybody? I'm Tucker Bagley alongside Eliot Shorr-Parks. Looking nice in the suit, in the press box, at the link, banner
Look at
night.
you, man. Hawaii Tucker over here gets back from his honeymoon day one right into Eagles work. I love it.
I mean, I got back to the mainland just a few hours ago, just a few
The
hours before kickoff.
mainland. Look at you, the
I mean,
mainland.
if we want to talk about Hawaii, we can talk about Hawaii. Maybe
No,
that's
let's
time
get
for the
into
other
it.
time.
Let's
But
get right into it. Yeah.
let's get right in and let's start at the beginning. And let's start with how the game started. And that's with Jalen Carter getting ejected for spitting on Dak Prescott, which was kind of crazy because I think the attention was on Ben Van Sumeren, who was being carted off the field. And then all of a sudden a flag was thrown. You saw the replay on TV that he clearly just walked up to Dak Prescott and spit on him, and that really immediately, after all the good vibes for the pregame ceremony, Jeff Lurie and Brandon Graham out there on the field leading the Eagles fight song, holding the Lombardi trophies. Immediately, it seemed like all those good vibes just kind of went away. What was the feeling in the stadium? As kind of they broke that news and the referee announced that he was qualified.
To your point, it was a lot of confusion. Fans in the seats were turning around to us trying to figure out what happened because a lot of us were focused on Ben Van Sumeren. But once you see the replay of what happened, it's incredibly clear he should have been ejected. And let's be honest, that was one of the more irresponsible, dumb things we have seen from an Eagles player in a long time. And maybe we have to hold our commentary until after the game. Who knows what was said, but no matter what was said, honestly, that is not something you can do. It cannot be emphasized enough how important Jalen Carter is to that defense. Arguably, the entire defense is built around that guy. If the defensive line is going to be good, they need Jalen Carter. If the secondary is going to be good, they need Jalen Carter to get that defensive line going. And you're seeing tonight, I mean, that's an entire game plan just thrown out the window once Jalen Carter leaves. And for something incredibly avoidable. Maybe Dak said something. You have to handle it better than Jalen Carter handled it. It's just completely unacceptable. For Nick, I mean, if I know Nick the way I know Nick Sirianni, he is going to be livid about this. He's going to view it as selfish. He's going to view it as reckless. He's going to view it as just it was a terrible, terrible play by Jalen Carter. And you can see how the defense has struggled because of it. But it's not just Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter, obviously the most egregious of them. Nolan Smith, the taunting penalty. We can say, either you cannot like the taunting penalty. He walked over to Miles Sanders, stood above him, and it was a taunting penalty. Then he gets a roughing the passer penalty. I thought that one was a little debatable, but still, in a game that's filled with emotion, and you can feel it in the stadium tonight, the Eagles are the ones that are letting it get the better of them. It's reminiscent of the Washington game last year when Chauncey got thrown out. And to come out of the season like this, it's good to play with emotion. They did the whole video about, what tough is and all that. They're tough. They have not backed down to the Cowboys, but the difference is the Cowboys are doing it within the rules and it's not hurting them the same way it is hurting the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys' big penalty came on that ensuing kickoff after the Eagles' first penalty, and I thought Cooper DeSheen was just as kind of culpable in that scrum as anybody else, and that was the Cowboys. They got another penalty after that, but they got flagged for unsportsmanlike conduct in that situation. But you look at it, Eagles have 7 penalties for 93 yards. It's more penalty yards they had in any game last season. I think you mentioned that Washington game. They had 91 in that game a year ago. That was their season high. So they're at 93 in the first half. And you mentioned, that Jalen Carter penalty just kind of set the tone for the way the defense played. They've been undisciplined. They've had a lot of mental mistakes. And, as you look at the secondary, I think that the name that we're going to keep coming back to is Adoree Jackson and how he's been beat quite a few times by CeeDee Lamb. Quinyon Mitchell got beat by George Pickens and got
Quinyon has not been great either, for what it's worth. Again, you want to talk about the two players the Eagles needed to be great this year, Jalen Carter and Quinyon Mitchell. Carter's gone, and Quinyon, he hasn't been bad, but he has not been that number one shutdown corner. But to go back to the Jalen Carter thing really quick, as well as the Nolan Smith thing, you cannot let your emotions get the better of you like that. The Eagles are the team that's played in the Super Bowl. The Eagles are the team that have played in big time games. The Eagles are supposed to be the more mature, the more put together team. One thing Nick Sirianni stresses is if they have enough talent to win. The way they lose, or the way they're only up 1 point at halftime when you're 8.5 point favorites, is by doing dumb things that keeps the other team in the game. And that's exactly what Jalen Carter did. And by the way, let's not forget the fact that Jalen Carter is supposed to be a leader of this team. He's an important player and he is obviously critical to what they do. He's also supposed to be a tone setter. Could you imagine if Jalen Hurts spit on a player and got ejected? And I know he's a quarterback, but it's a similar thing in terms of leadership on that side of the ball. So This is obviously something we're going to talk about a ton in the post game pod and all week. But one other big picture thing I'll throw at you is we've talked all offseason about how Jalen Carter is going to get paid big time money. Stuff like that is going to matter when it comes to his contract. And not to mention, will he be on the field next week against the Chiefs? I think is a fair question to at least ask. I would guess he probably will be, but this is a national primetime game, first game of the year. The NFL has stressed the code of conduct this offseason. And for the first play, prior to even the first play, for a big time player like Jalen Carter to spit on the Cowboys quarterback in front of everybody, going into a big time game with the Chiefs next week, you do wonder if the NFL is going to try to send a message here. Maybe it's an overreaction, but you wonder if they'll try.
Yeah, and you mentioned, maybe a possible suspension for Jalen Carter, something a lot of people in the chat are kind of wondering if it's something where he might be missing, 1, 2, or 3 games as the Eagles face
No,
a tough
I don't
start.
think it. I don't think it'll be multiple games. I think there's a 20% chance he gets one game, but I think there's a chance he will not get multiple games. I'd be pretty stunned. I mean, unless there's precedent, but I would be pretty
Yeah, I mean,
stunned.
it would be a shocking thing if it was a long-term thing. But they have Kansas City next week, which is a pretty big matchup. But let's flip to the offense and talk about some positive things because I've been really
Yeah.
impressed with the offense so far. 3 drives, 3 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts, he only had, I think, 31 yards prior to that 50-yard pass, that deep post to Jahan Dotson. But he's been really great as a runner, scrambling, ran for 2 touchdowns on the first 2 drives. What have you seen from Jalen so far?
So I think Jalen is kind of like exactly who we debated all offseason. He is the reason they are in this game. He is the reason they are winning this game. He carried that offense when nothing else was going. The running game wasn't really working. He made plays out of nothing. He made a big touchdown run on third down. He had a big pass completion on third down. He obviously had the touchdown run from whatever it was, 15 or 16 yards out for their second touchdown. Like he's been really, really good overall. But the passing game's not been good. Like they had to throw to Dotson, which was huge. But prior to that, he had 31 yards on his first 7 attempts, and that was like a quarter and a half into the game. I'm only watching from the press box, so like I don't have the best views of this. Maybe the chat will be able to say it better. But to me, it looked like there's been times where if he got rid of the ball quicker, AJ was open. AJ has 0 targets so far in this game. You cannot tell me they're not calling plays to get AJ the ball quickly. So I think a good example of it, and again, it's just my perspective watching the tape. Maybe I'm wrong, but on that 16-yard run he had, which was an impressive run, like net positive play, it looked to me like AJ was open. And so when I'm watching these two offenses in the first half, to me, the Cowboys offense looks more sustainable. Dak looks awesome. The passing game is clicking. They are moving the ball. The Eagles have mostly had to count on Jalen to run around. They don't feel like they have any rhythm going into offense. Like, again, he's been great. He's why they're winning, but the passing game has not been good. So he's kind of been like who we debated all offseason.
Yeah, I mean he's 9 of 11 for 93 yards. You mentioned 51 of those yards coming on that bomb to Jahan Dotson, and you look at kind of the share of the offense and where the touches are coming from. Saquon Barkley, he has 10 carries and 2 catches. He has 12 touches in the first half of the game. Devontae Smith has 1 target, 1 catch for 6 yards. AJ Brown has yet to touch the ball
No
or be
targets too,
targeted
right? Yeah.
in the offense. Yeah, I mean Goddard's been targeted 4 times, 4 catches, 24 yards. You mentioned 2 targets for Barkley, and then Dotson, Smith, and Granson each have 1 target. So it's been kind of interesting for an offense that maybe, in training camp at times seemed to push the ball more vertically, and you definitely have the weapons to do so. And you're going against a secondary that's been banged up. Not necessarily a secondary that you're afraid to throw against in Dallas. You kind of wonder why he's been so leery. And I think, outside of that 51-yard play, he doesn't have a completion over 8 yards in the first half.
Yeah. No, I agree. Maybe we'll look forward here a little bit. Like, what's your confidence level they win the game? And to me, it is truly 50-50. Like, Jalen has been special. And if you have a special quarterback, you can win the game. But the defense hasn't been great. The passing game hasn't really been sustainable. The running game, in my opinion, has not been great. That run by Saquon was a great run, but, like, he's not really been getting free. Meanwhile, it looks like Dak is kind of getting what he wants. They put Ja'Cory Bennett in there to end the half. He immediately gets called for pass interference. We'll see if Adoree Jackson is out there for the second half. But again, like you spend, not months, but you spend weeks building a game plan with Jalen Carter in the middle, and now he's gone. Like that's really, really tough. And you didn't dress Ty Robinson. So you're down to 4 defensive tackles right away. Like, I don't know. Like, would I bet for them to win? I'd be curious to see what the line is. I guess I would, just because they win these type of games, but this is not going well so far.
Yeah, I mean, and So do you predict a win as we kind of wrap up here? Do you think?
I guess I would. I guess I would predict a win just because I
but
think
not
ultimately
confidently.
this is no. I think this has obviously not been a good first half for the Eagles. The defense has not been great. The offense, in my opinion, has not been good. It's basically just been Jalen. I think Jalen Hurts obviously is kind of the only bright spot of this first half.
All right, well, we'll certainly see what happens over the next 30 minutes. After the game, Eliot and James Seltzer will be live right here on YouTube and on WIP's Twitter, breaking down everything that happens, in the final 30 minutes, talking about what happens on the field. Eagles lead the Cowboys